He texts her once, then disappears for 3 days. Suddenly, she's checking her phone like it owes her money. Why is it that the guy who barely tries often gets more attention than the guy who tries too hard? If you enjoy honest conversations about attraction, psychology, and modern dating without the nonsense, subscribe now because we're breaking this down properly. Chapter 1. The Law of Scarcity. Human beings are wired to value what feels rare. When something is constantly available, it slowly loses intensity in our minds, even if it's valuable. Attention works the same way. When a man is always available, instant replies, open schedule, endless reassurance, he can unintentionally signal that his time isn't in demand. And in dating, perceived value often rises when access feels earned rather than automatic. But when a man has priorities, purpose, and a life that doesn't revolve around one person he just met, his attention becomes selective. Scarcity creates curiosity, and curiosity creates emotional investment. Chapter 2. The Challenge Effect. Most attractive women are used to being pursued. Compliments are common, attention is predictable, and validation flows easily in modern dating culture. So when one man doesn't immediately fall into that pattern, it disrupts expectations. Instead of automatic approval, she encounters uncertainty, and uncertainty activates intrigue. She may begin to wonder why he's different, whether he's unimpressed or whether his attention is elsewhere. That small question mark can spark more attraction than 100 predictable compliments. Chapter 3. Emotional Control. There is something deeply compelling about emotional steadiness. A man who doesn't overreact, double text in panic, or spiral over delayed replies signals internal security. Confidence is rarely loud. It is composed. When he remains calm, regardless of her response time or mood shifts, he communicates that his emotional state is not easily shaken. That quiet stability feels safe and strong at the same time. And stability, especially in a chaotic dating environment, stands out. Chapter 4. Non-neediness. Neediness creates pressure, and pressure quietly drains attraction. Overinvesting too early, seeking constant reassurance, or pushing for rapid emotional intensity can feel overwhelming. When a man doesn't overchase, the interaction feels lighter. There's space to breathe, space to choose, and space for natural interest to develop. Ironically, when she doesn't feel chased or pressured, she may feel freer to move toward him. Attraction grows better in open air than in tight grip. Chapter 5. The Power of Mystery. When you are constantly present, there is little room for imagination. Predictability removes the spark of curiosity that often fuels romantic tension. But when you are occasionally unavailable because you genuinely have things to do, your absence creates space. And in that space, imagination begins to work. She may start wondering what your world looks like beyond her, what occupies your time, and who else competes for your attention. Mystery invites mental engagement, and mental engagement strengthens attraction. Chapter 6. Strength versus Games. There is a crucial difference between grounded independence and calculated ignoring. One comes from self-assurance. The other often comes from insecurity masked as strategy. If a man ignores someone purely to manipulate a reaction, the emotional tone usually feels off. People are highly intuitive, especially in romantic dynamics. But when a man is simply focused, purposeful, and not desperate for validation, that energy feels authentic. Authentic strength attracts. Forced detachment repels. Chapter 7. When it backfires. Some men misunderstand this dynamic and swing to the extreme. They stop initiating, stop expressing interest, and assume silence alone will generate desire. Attraction still requires movement and leadership. If interest is never communicated, connection rarely forms. The key is balance, showing clear interest without overextending, leading without forcing, and investing without losing self-control. The middle ground is where confidence lives. Chapter 8. The emotional shift. At the core of this dynamic is a shift in emotional focus. Instead of the man constantly wondering whether she likes him, she begins wondering where she stands with him. The moment someone starts analyzing your behavior, replaying your conversations, and trying to interpret your silence, mental energy has already been invested. And where attention flows, emotion often follows. The goal is not to ignore her, but to live in a way that your attention feels valuable rather than automatic. Chapter 9. The Abundance Mindset. One reason this dynamic works is because it signals abundance. A man who doesn't overchase often appears as though he has options, not because he's showing them off, but because he's not clinging to one. Abundance energy feels different from desperation. It communicates quietly, I want you, but I don't need you to survive. And here's the paradox. The moment someone feels like a choice instead of your only lifeline, they're more likely to choose you back. Chapter 10. Emotional Investment Reversal. In many dating scenarios, the man invests first and heavily. He plans, initiates, compliments, reassures, and hopes she reciprocates at the same intensity. But when he holds back slightly and matches her energy instead of overwhelming it, the emotional equation shifts. She now has room to lean forward. The person who invests more emotionally often feels more attached. So when she begins initiating, wondering, and reaching out, her own investment deepens the attraction. Chapter 11. Self-respect is magnetic. At the core of everything is self-respect. A man who doesn't chase excessively often has internal boundaries. He values his time, his energy, and his dignity. He doesn't beg for attention, doesn't tolerate consistent disrespect, and doesn't perform just to be liked. That quiet self-assurance creates gravity. People are naturally drawn to those who seem comfortable in their own skin. And nothing is more attractive than someone who knows their worth and acts like it without announcing it every 5 minutes. Chapter 12. The Energy of Detachment. There's a subtle but powerful difference between interest and attachment. Interest says, I like you. Attachment says, I need this to work. When a man is detached in a healthy way, he's present and engaged, but not consumed. He enjoys the interaction without mentally fast-forwarding to the wedding playlist after the second date. That relaxed energy lowers tension and increases attraction. Because when someone feels that you're choosing them, not clinging to them, the connection feels real, not forced. And ironically, the less tightly you try to hold something in dating, the more naturally it tends to stay. Conclusion. Women don't chase men simply because they are ignored. They are drawn to men who are centered, purposeful, and emotionally steady. Ignoring someone is not the strategy. Building a life that doesn't depend on one person's validation is the real shift. If this brought clarity, like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more real conversations about attraction and psychology. And in the comments, tell me, have you ever seen this dynamic play out in real life?